Grace is a quiet yet profound force that we experience when we allow ourselves to surrender to the present moment, to our imperfections, and to life as it unfolds. It emerges when we release the burdens of control, judgment, and fear, and in that release, we create space for something deeper. Grace does not demand, it invites us. It beckons us to heal the wounds of the past, to expand in compassion for ourselves and others, and to open our hearts fully to the present. Through grace, we learn to accept what is, without resistance or denial. We soften into compassion, recognizing the shared human experience of suffering and joy. And most importantly, we learn the art of forgiveness, not as an obligation to others, but as a gift to ourselves, releasing the weight of bitterness and pain. Grace transforms the way we engage with the world and with ourselves, allowing us to grow into the highest version of who we are meant to be. In embracing grace, we step into a life of profound healing, where we no longer fight against what is, but instead move with the flow of life, grounded in acceptance, guided by compassion, and liberated through forgiveness. Lesson 1. Don't let pain control your life. There are moments in life when you might feel stuck, as though the weight of the past is pressing down on you. Haunted by memories of what was, and overwhelmed by grief, it can seem impossible to move forward. You replay the events that caused you pain, and the more you think about them, the more real they become in your present life. But here's the truth: holding on to this pain, blaming others, and letting it define you only deepens your suffering. The more pain consumes you, the more it controls you. It seeps into every part of your life, affecting not just you but those around you. You may find yourself becoming short-tempered, withdrawn, or even bitter, without fully realizing that it's the unresolved hurt dictating your actions. The pain may spread beyond the event that caused it. It can bleed into your work, relationships, and everyday experiences, coloring your world with shades of distrust, resentment, and fear. But the person or event that hurt you has already caused enough damage. Why give them more power than they deserve? You don't have to let them take away your precious memories or dictate your future. It's natural to want to hold on to the past, to try and make sense of what happened. But by gripping onto the pain, you're not just reliving the hurt, you're letting it shape the days ahead. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending that what happened didn't matter or that it didn't hurt. Letting go is about reclaiming your power. It's about deciding that the pain, while significant, doesn't get to control you anymore. You get to choose how you move forward. You get to decide which memories stay, and which no longer serve you. And in that choice, there is freedom. What if, instead of letting the pain consume you, you could acknowledge it and then gently release it? What if you could honor the hurt without letting it define your future? By doing this, you're not denying what happened, you're choosing not to be defined by it. You have the power to decide what stays and what goes. The pain may have taken up residence in your heart for a long time, but it doesn't have to live there forever. You are not your pain. You are the person who survived it, who endured it, and who is now choosing to step forward into a life that can still be beautiful, even after everything that's happened. So, breathe deeply and know that the path forward isn't about erasing the past. It's about making peace with it. The person or event that hurt you has no claim on your future, unless you allow it. Let go, release, and take back your life. You deserve that freedom. Lesson 2: to live in revenge is to live in darkness. Revenge often lingers in our minds, tempting us with the belief that it will bring us satisfaction. In the heat of the moment, it may feel like the perfect antidote to our pain, a way to regain control and assert our power. But revenge, while it might seem gratifying in the short term, comes at a much higher cost than we often realize. It robs us of our emotional and spiritual peace, binding us to the very pain we seek to escape. When we harbor thoughts of retaliation, we allow negativity to seep into our hearts, clouding our judgment and hindering our ability to heal. Instead of finding solace in the idea of revenge, we can choose a different way, one that leads to forgiveness. Forgiveness is not just a noble act, it is a powerful tool that liberates us from the desire for vengeance. By choosing to forgive, we place the burden of justice into God's hands, trusting that He can deliver true justice in ways that we cannot. However, the journey toward forgiveness is often fraught with obstacles. One of the most significant barriers we face is our unhealthy perceptions and beliefs. We may convince ourselves that forgiving means condoning the wrongdoing, or that it makes us weak or vulnerable. These misconceptions can prevent us from fully embracing forgiveness and, consequently, from healing. To break free from these limiting beliefs, we need to cultivate a healthy mindset. Healthy individuals are capable of giving and receiving love, forgiveness, hope, and constructive feedback. They recognize that forgiveness does not diminish their worth or strength, rather, it enhances their emotional resilience and fosters deeper connections with others. Maturity is not about avoiding challenges, it's about letting those challenges shape us in positive ways. Each hurt we experience has the potential to teach us valuable lessons about ourselves and others. When we face our pain head-on and choose to respond with compassion rather than retaliation, we transform our struggles into stepping stones for growth. As we embark on this journey, remember that forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. It may take time to let go of the hurt, and that's okay. Be gentle with yourself as you navigate this journey. Each small step toward forgiveness is a victory worth celebrating. In closing, I invite you to embrace the freedom that forgiveness offers. Release the desire for revenge and trust in a higher power to deliver justice. Recognize and challenge your unhealthy perceptions, allowing yourself to grow and mature through life's challenges. By choosing forgiveness, you choose to reclaim your emotional and spiritual well-being, opening the door to love, hope, and profound healing. Lesson 3: The burden of unforgiveness. Forgiveness can feel impossible when we are hurting. When someone we trust betrays us, our immediate reaction is often a desire for justice. We want the person who has wronged us to experience the pain they've caused. This instinct is natural. It's a way we cope with feelings of betrayal. Yet, clinging to this desire for retribution can trap us in a cycle of pain. Holding on to offenses creates a cocoon of sorrow that isolates us. In this state, we struggle to see the beauty around us. Life continues to offer joy, the laughter of friends, the warmth of the sun, the simple pleasures that uplift our spirits, but we become so focused on our hurt that we blind ourselves to them. This burden can weigh heavily on our souls, making even mundane tasks feel overwhelming. Each unresolved offense acts like a stone in our backpack, adding weight until we can hardly move. The emotional exhaustion from harboring unforgiveness affects our mental health, our relationships, and our overall well-being. When we cling to our hurt, we become prisoners of our past. The person who hurt us may have moved on, but we remain shackled to our grievances, diminishing our capacity for joy and peace. By holding on to these feelings, we rob ourselves of the beauty life has to offer. In these moments of struggle, we must remember that God sees our pain. He understands our longing for justice, but His perspective is far broader than ours. God assures us that He will handle justice in His divine timing. He knows when the scales of justice need to be balanced and is committed to addressing every wrong. Letting go of the need for immediate retribution opens us up to healing. Forgiveness is not about excusing the wrongs done to us, it's about freeing ourselves from the chains of resentment. This act of grace allows us to acknowledge our pain while choosing to release it. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, it is a profound expression of strength and resilience. As we begin to forgive, we gradually lift the heaviness from our souls, creating space for healing and transformation. We learn to see the world differently, allowing light to shine in and illuminate our path. Through forgiveness, we can reclaim our joy and rediscover the beauty in everyday moments, engaging meaningfully with those around us. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or allowing others to hurt us again. It does not guarantee reconciliation, rather, it empowers us to reclaim our lives and restore our peace. We may still feel the sting of past wounds, but we can choose how we respond. Practicing forgiveness cultivates compassion for ourselves and others. Embracing forgiveness is an ongoing journey. It may require revisiting our pain multiple times, acknowledging it, and letting it go repeatedly. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It's an act of courage, acknowledging our humanity and reclaiming the beauty of life. Lesson 4: Understanding Karma and Accountability. Many people believe that to forgive someone means to absolve them of their actions and the consequences that follow. However, forgiveness does not negate accountability, rather, it allows us to release ourselves from the emotional burden of another's actions while acknowledging that they will still face the results of their choices. Karma, often simplified as the notion that what goes around comes around, is a foundational principle in many spiritual traditions. It embodies the idea that every action has consequences, both good and bad. This cosmic law operates independently of our emotions and intentions. When someone commits a wrongdoing, they are bound to face the repercussions of their actions, whether in this life or the next. Understanding this principle allows us to step back from the situation and recognize that the universe has its own mechanisms for justice. Forgiveness is not about excusing or forgetting the wrongdoings of others. Rather, it is a powerful act of self-liberation. When we choose to forgive, we are making a conscious decision to free ourselves from the emotional chains that bind us to the past. Holding on to resentment, anger, or pain only serves to weigh us down, affecting our emotional and mental well-being. By forgiving, we release these burdens, allowing ourselves to move forward without the weight of past grievances. One of the most profound aspects of forgiveness is that it grants us emotional independence. By forgiving those who have wronged us, we reclaim our power and agency. We acknowledge that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control our responses and the impact those actions have on our lives. This shift in perspective allows us to break free from the cycle of blame and victimhood, empowering us to cultivate a more peaceful and fulfilling existence. When we forgive, we do so for our healing, not to absolve the offender of their duty to confront their actions. They will ultimately face the results of their choices, whether through natural consequences, societal judgment, or personal remorse. Lesson 5. Forgiveness is a choice, not dependent on others' actions. Forgiveness can feel unrealistic, even impossible, when your heart is shattered by betrayal or deep pain. The weight of hurt can seem too heavy to lift, and the idea of moving past it may seem like a distant fantasy. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it certainly doesn't mean condoning what happened. You don't need to forget past hurts in order to forgive. Forgetting isn't necessary. What's essential is releasing the bitterness that clings to you like a poison. Bitterness, when left unchecked, festers within, slowly eroding your peace, happiness, and even your health. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is the antidote to that poison. Forgiveness is not about them, it is about us and our desire to heal. It is about freeing ourselves from the chains of bitterness and resentment that were keeping us imprisoned in pain. The act of forgiveness is not dependent on fairness, justice, or the repentance of those who caused the hurt. It has nothing to do with waiting for someone else to say they're sorry. It's not about them at all. It's about us. Forgiveness is an act of taking back control of our lives, our hearts, and our emotions. While people may have caused pain, it's up to us to manage our emotional response to it. We often think that holding on to hurt protects us from future pain, but in reality, it only traps us in the past. The longer we cling to that hurt, the more it shapes who we are in the present. Forgiveness is a choice, a powerful decision that doesn't come easily. It's a decision and a process. We don't forgive once and forget, we forgive, and then sometimes we have to keep choosing forgiveness day after day as the memories and feelings resurface. But each time we choose to forgive, we take one step closer to freedom. Forgiveness is about moving forward, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. It's necessary for our own peace of mind, our own emotional well-being. When we refuse to forgive, we refuse peace. We let the hurt stay inside us, taking up space and controlling our thoughts and feelings. This keeps us stuck and burdened by pain, even though the key to our freedom is in our hands. The truth is, forgiveness is more for us than for anyone else. It's the most profound act of self-love we can engage in, because it releases us from the prison of the past. Holding on to hurt would only keep us trapped, prolonging our suffering, while forgiveness opens the door to healing and peace. So, what if we let go? Not of the memory, not of the lessons learned, but of the bitterness and resentment that prevent us from living freely. What if we release the poison of anger and reclaim our power? Forgiveness allows us to do just that. It allows us to heal, to grow, and to move forward in life with a lighter heart. Lesson 6. Bring the light of awareness to your darkness. In our journey of self-discovery, awareness acts as the initial beacon of light. When we begin to recognize a familiar pattern in our lives, especially one that is dysfunctional or harmful, we are embarking on a significant step toward healing. This recognition signifies a moment of awakening, where we become conscious of how these patterns have operated in our lives, often without our deliberate intention. Imagine you've been stuck in a loop, repeating the same behaviors, facing similar challenges, and feeling the same emotions. The realization that these patterns exist is a powerful catalyst for change. It's the first step on a transformative journey, paving the way for deeper understanding and growth. Once we've recognized a pattern, awareness opens the door to understanding its roots. Why do we react a certain way? What past experiences, beliefs, or emotional wounds are feeding this familiar behavior? By diving deep into the origins of these patterns, we can see them in their entirety. This holistic view allows us to stop merely reacting to triggers unconsciously and instead approach them with clarity and intention. Through awareness, we begin to unravel the threads that weave our reactions and choices, illuminating the core beliefs that have been silently influencing us. This understanding empowers us, as we can now engage with our patterns with curiosity rather than judgment. By bringing awareness to a previously unconscious pattern, we are essentially casting light into the shadows of our psyche. This illumination is transformative. It allows us to confront and examine the pattern more closely. What once operated in the background now takes center stage, inviting us to explore its nuances and implications. Acknowledging the pattern doesn't simply mean recognizing its existence, it also means understanding how it has shaped our behavior and influenced our decisions. This acknowledgement acts as a key, breaking the power these patterns have over us. We are no longer bound by them, rather, we gain the freedom to evaluate their impact and choose a different way. With awareness and understanding, we cultivate the power of choice. Instead of being driven by automatic responses rooted in our past, we become active participants in our lives. We can assess how these familiar patterns serve us or hinder our progress and well-being. This process of illumination and reflection is not always comfortable. It may bring to the surface emotions we've buried or truths we've avoided. Yet, it is through this discomfort that we find the greatest opportunities for growth. The act of bringing light to our patterns allows us to heal the wounds associated with them, transforming pain into insight and struggle into strength. Lesson 7. Release the need to control, change, or rescue others. As we journey through life, we often encounter individuals we care deeply about, friends, family, or partners, who are facing challenges. Our instinct is to help them. We want to guide them towards a better path, to motivate them to change. Yet, it's essential to understand that true change must come from within. Without their commitment, nothing will truly improve. Now, let's talk about what happens when we try to help someone who isn't ready to change. It's easy to become consumed by this desire. You might find yourself pouring your energy into encouraging, advising, or confronting them, hoping that your efforts will spark a shift in their mindset or behavior. But here's the reality, this often leads to exhaustion. When you invest so much of yourself into someone else's growth, you can end up feeling drained and resentful. You might feel like your efforts are going unrecognized, or worse, unappreciated. Let's face it, releasing someone to face the consequences of their actions can be heartbreaking. You might feel like you're abandoning them, especially when you see their struggles. But it's crucial to recognize that their healing journey is theirs alone to undertake. You can't carry their burdens or shield them from the repercussions of their choices forever. Allowing them to face these consequences is part of the process of their growth and accountability. When you step back, it doesn't mean you care any less. In fact, it shows a deep understanding that lasting change must come from their heart, not from external pressure. As much as you might wish for their recovery, it's essential to avoid taking on the role of their savior. Your love and support are important, but they need to find their way to healing and self-control independently. This self-discovery can be a powerful catalyst for genuine change. It encourages them to develop resilience and resourcefulness, discovering strengths they may not have known they had. The journey of change is deeply personal. By allowing them to face the consequences of their actions and decisions, you honor their autonomy and empower them to step into their potential. In this way, you cultivate healthy boundaries that protect your energy while respecting their journey. Lesson 8: Protecting your emotional capacity with boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, they are about protecting your emotional and spiritual well-being while maintaining healthy relationships. While we are deeply impacted by the actions of others, we are ultimately responsible for how we respond. Setting boundaries is an act of self-care, helping us stay true to our values without sacrificing our peace for someone else's chaos. Being honest about how others affect us is crucial for maintaining emotional stability. It's important to acknowledge our capacity for handling different relationships and set limits that reflect our emotional and mental bandwidth. By establishing clear boundaries, we avoid being overwhelmed by other people's actions while staying compassionate. Boundaries give us the space to extend grace without feeling trampled or drained. Setting boundaries doesn't always fix relationships, but it helps preserve our character and emotional health. It ensures that we don't sacrifice our well-being for the sake of someone else's disorder or chaos. Boundaries are not meant to push people away, rather, they create a framework for maintaining peace, stability, and personal growth. They allow us to remain open to love and connection while protecting ourselves from emotional harm. Clear, consistent boundaries bring stability, especially in relationships that can otherwise be overwhelming. By being honest about our emotional capacity, we set realistic expectations for ourselves and others. Saying no when necessary isn't a sign of unkindness, it's a declaration of self-respect and an acknowledgement of our limitations. Establishing boundaries helps us avoid burnout and protects our emotional reserves. Boundaries also guide our communication. We must be mindful of whom we turn to when processing emotions. Trusted friends can provide valuable perspective, but gossip and drama will only further complicate situations. Protecting our energy includes limiting conversations that spiral into negativity or unhealthy emotional patterns. Boundaries are essential in keeping our relationships healthy and constructive. Setting boundaries is an exercise in wisdom. They allow us to navigate difficult or complex relationships while maintaining our emotional and spiritual well-being. By choosing when to engage and when to step back, we create a sense of stability and peace in our lives. Boundaries empower us to remain kind, loving, and true to ourselves without being consumed by external chaos. In closing, boundaries are tools for maintaining balance in our relationships and personal growth. They are essential for preserving our peace, compassion, and overall well-being. As we practice setting and maintaining boundaries, we learn to live in alignment with our values, fostering both emotional and spiritual health. Lesson 9: The Grace of Compassion. Deep hurt often clouds our ability to think beyond the obvious. When we experience pain, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that our negative experiences stem from bad people. This belief can create a cycle of negativity, shaping our perceptions and influencing how we define our reality, both physically and emotionally. But what if we looked at our experiences through the lens of grace? Instead of allowing our pain to dictate how we interact with the world, we can learn from it. This doesn't mean dismissing our hurt or pretending it didn't happen. Rather, it means acknowledging our feelings while choosing not to use them against others. Holding on to resentment doesn't bring justice or change, it only hurts us and keeps us stuck in a cycle of bitterness. It's crucial to recognize that you don't have to know why people hurt or betray you. Often, their choices are rooted in their own pain, which may be beyond their understanding. Consider the possibility that their actions stem from deep-seated wounds. Everyone has faced deep hurt at some point in their lives, and picturing your offender as a wounded child can help you cultivate compassion. This perspective allows you to see them not as inherently bad people, but as unhealed individuals projecting their pain onto others. Hurting people hurt others. Their actions may seem malicious, but more often than not, they are expressions of their unresolved issues. Recognizing this truth can help you avoid defining yourself by their hurtful actions. Don't let their pain define or confine you in bitterness. Forgiveness is a powerful tool in this journey toward compassion, but it doesn't always require reconciliation, especially in harmful situations. Forgiveness is more about freeing yourself from the chains of resentment than about restoring a broken relationship. It's about taking back your power and choosing to let go of the hurt, allowing you to move forward with your life. As you navigate your own pain, remember the importance of compassion, not just for others but also for yourself. It's okay to feel hurt, it's part of being human. But in your healing journey, let compassion guide you. By choosing to see the humanity in those who have wronged you, you can break the cycle of negativity and find a path toward peace. Let us embrace the power of compassion as a way to transform our pain into understanding. Lesson 10: The 3 Pillars of Grace: Acceptance, Compassion, and Forgiveness. In our journey through life, we often encounter moments that challenge us, moments filled with pain, anger, and frustration. These experiences can weigh heavily on our hearts and minds. Yet, within the concept of grace lies the healing power we need to navigate these challenges. Grace involves acceptance, compassion, and forgiveness, not only toward ourselves but also toward everyone involved in the situation. Acceptance is the first step toward healing. It means acknowledging the situation, emotions, or people as they are, without trying to change, resist, or judge them. It's about allowing the experience to be what it is, without wishing it were different. Acceptance helps us see that whatever happened in the past is part of our experience. We no longer need to fight against it or feel stuck in it. When we practice acceptance, we stop placing our energy on resisting the reality of the situation. Rather, we begin to understand that these moments are opportunities for growth and learning. The second pillar of grace is compassion. Compassion involves approaching the situation with a kind and understanding heart, both toward ourselves and others. It's the ability to see the pain and suffering behind a trigger and respond with empathy. Compassion does not mean excusing harmful actions. Rather, it means recognizing the humanity in everyone involved. We understand that each person, including ourselves, is acting from their own limitations, wounds, or pain. This understanding softens our emotional reactions and allows us to respond with kindness rather than anger or resentment. When we cultivate compassion, we create a bridge between our hearts and the hearts of others. We begin to see that we are all on a journey, often struggling with our own battles. This awareness fosters a sense of connection, reminding us that we are not alone in our pain. Forgiveness is the final element of grace. It is the act of letting go of the resentment, anger, or hurt we may hold toward others or ourselves. Forgiveness is not about justifying what happened, but about releasing the emotional burden that the situation or person has on us. Through forgiveness, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of the past. The process of forgiveness often requires vulnerability and courage. It asks us to confront our emotions head-on, allowing ourselves to feel the pain while also embracing the potential for healing. In this way, forgiveness becomes a powerful act of self-care. When we bring acceptance, compassion, and forgiveness to a trigger, we create an environment where healing and release can take place. We no longer resist the experience or hold on to it with anger or resentment. Rather, we embrace it with an open heart, allowing the emotional residues of the trigger to dissolve. In conclusion, the healing power of grace invites us to live with an open heart. It reminds us that every experience, no matter how painful, carries the potential for growth. Lesson 11: The healing power of grace. As we journey through life, we encounter emotional patterns, often shaped by our past experiences, relationships, and wounds. These patterns can feel like they have a strong hold on us, repeatedly drawing us into situations or dynamics that mirror old pain. However, when we heal these emotional wounds, the power these old dynamics once held over us begins to dissolve. This is where the healing power of grace plays a transformative role. Once you've done the work of healing the emotional residue from past wounds, you're no longer emotionally triggered by the same types of people or situations. Even if someone from your past, who once had the ability to affect you deeply, were to enter your life again, your response would be different. The emotional clarity you've gained allows you to recognize these patterns for what they are, but they no longer control you. When old dynamics lose their power, it's a profound sign of your inner growth. You're no longer trapped in the same cycles, because you've learned to understand and release the emotional attachments that once kept you tied to them. Instead of reacting impulsively or being swept up in old emotions, you can now respond with wisdom, setting boundaries where needed or simply walking away. Healing doesn't mean that those old patterns or people won't cross your path again. It means that when they do, you have the strength to remain centered in yourself. You no longer feel drawn in or emotionally entangled. The clarity and emotional freedom you've gained allow you to see these situations for what they truly are, and with that awareness comes the power to make different choices. One of the most empowering aspects of this healing process is that it helps you reclaim your agency. You no longer feel like a passive participant in your own emotional experiences. Rather, you consciously choose how to engage with the world around you, and how much access others have to your emotional space. By setting firm boundaries or walking away from situations that no longer serve you, you affirm your worth and honor your emotional growth. In this space of grace, you realize that old dynamics no longer have a hold on you, because you are no longer the same person. You've evolved, and with that evolution comes the ability to live in alignment with who you are now, not who you were then. You've outgrown the wounds, and with that, you've outgrown the patterns that once held you captive. This is the healing power of grace in action. It allows you to move forward in life with emotional clarity, self-awareness, and a deep sense of peace, knowing that the past no longer defines your present. You are free, empowered, and ready to live in alignment with your highest self. By embracing grace, you unlock the strength to let go of what no longer serves you and to step into a future filled with emotional freedom and possibility.